But let's put the focus for the moment on the real estate space, because the GST Council meeting is underway, and the expectation is that the Council in the post-lunch session is really they're discussing including real estate within the purview of the GST. And we in fact have been speaking to industry members to get their take on whether or not this will be good news for the sector. We spoke to Niranjan Hiranandani of Hiranandani Group, as well as Irfan Razak, the Managing Director of Prestige Estates. Listen into their comments.
Sir, today evening there's going to be a council meeting that should decide if real estate as a whole industry and sector should come under GST. In fact, there has been a lot of additions in the recent time of carpet area being added. So in case real estate comes under GST, there are going to be a lot of issues and changes with the 12% tax. And plus the concern that the industry is also looking into is about the stamp duty. What is your opinion on that? Is this going to be a good decision?
Of course it is a good decision. All decisions are good. The problem is in execution of these decisions. Tomorrow, let's say you bring everything into the factor, then GST comes into factor, post-occupation also. Stamp duty will be subsumed under that. Local taxes, hopefully of the municipal corporation and others will also get subsumed. So one tax will be extremely good, because it will be absolutely clear what is going to be taxed and how much the burden and load is there. So I think it's a very good idea to do so. But you must remember one thing, that when they brought in GST into real estate, they said that there is no additional burden on the consumer, which is not true. The burden has increased by 3.5% to 4.5% depending on the value of lands. So that I don't mind the GST coming in everything. But ultimately, if it is increasing the burden on the end consumer, I'm not going to welcome it. But yes, as a concept, wonderful idea, welcoming the concept.
But sir, is it going to be justified with the ready homes coming down to the new 12 plus 6% ratio?
See, I'll tell you one thing. This is a number game. Unless we don't see the numbers and see how the calculations really pan out, we cannot really make any kind of statement just now. I'm only saying that the concept of GST is a good concept because it's a single window tax. Once that single window tax is done, then we know what the burden is on the consumer. That's all. Ultimately, what the consumer will have to pay. So we are only saying that in the target of the Prime Minister, which is housing for all by 2022, unless you don't make investment into real estate attractive, people will only put into shares, not into real estate. So I'm only saying that you need to encourage rental housing, ownership housing, investment into new properties and development. Instead of me, today it would be more lucrative for me to stop investing into housing and put it into the stock market. So why should I invest into the real estate business? While I think it's necessary to invest more into real estate.
Sir, since budget is round the corner, from the industry point of view, do you have any request to the Finance Ministry that what specifically can they look into the real estate or the infra sector?
See, every time the budget comes in, everybody starts having all sorts of expectations. But the good part today is all the indirect taxes have all been rolled into one, and you have only GST with 3 or 4 slabs. The only regret is that real estate, though it's been given that 18% slab, the offset for land is being capped at 30%. And in certain cities where the land value is very high, that offset of 30% sometimes is low. I mean, in a way, it is good in the sense that there won't be any variable from developer to developer or project to project. But what it does is it only increases the cost to the end consumer. And when we are talking about housing for all, when we are talking about shelter for all and affordable housing and all of it, I believe there should be some system, some slab system where the affordable housing buyers pay a lesser amount of tax, because 18% less 30% offset still gives you a 12%. Which is pretty high, and then they also pay stamp duty. And these things, and then a few structural things like today when you're doing joint development agreements, your landowner will have to pay GST upfront. That doesn't work. So these are few structural changing, procedural changes. If they do come, I think that will give a boost and fillip to get easy access to land also.
So just an added question and last question on that today there's a council meeting and it might be decided that real estate will be fully considered under GST. There have been additions of carpet area, but do you think the industry is ready for it? And as developer point of view, is it going to be a happy decision?
I think that decision, if it comes, it is definitely going to be a nice and a good, happy decision. The only reason is then they'll be doing away with the stamp duty. So I believe that it's not so easy for them to come up with that decision. It could be a certain thinking in the process which the government has, and they have to get a buy-in from all states again, because I think that's the last bastion left over to the states where they get a certain amount of revenue, and certain states do get large amount of revenue from stamp duty, and they are not going to give it up very easily. But if stamp duty and GST all get rolled into one, that will be really fantastic, not from more than anything else from the consumer point of view. There won't be multiple points of taxation.